Well, you can't play music with a piece of paper.
Hooray! Hooray! That was great, Squidward. All those wrong notes you play made it sound more original.
What? I didn't play any wrong notes.
Yeah, see, you're playing it like this. When ordinarily it goes like this. I'm partially doing it in the key of...
I actually got a whole bunch of chainsaw recordings and I mixed them with different synthesizer sounds.
Nothing like a duet between buddies, eh, Squidward?
Hello, my name's Caliber. I'm a bit late to this, like almost 3 weeks, probably over 3 weeks late to this by the time this video gets out. But I want to make sure that I was at least done, or I've like at least completed Doom the Dark Ages before I made a video giving my thoughts on it. And it just really would have felt absolutely criminal to me if I just decided not to make a video on it, especially with how long it's been since I made a video at all on this channel. But overall, Doom the Dark Ages is good. I liked it. I had fun. There is definitely a gameplay loop that once you get sucked into, it's enjoyable, and if you like shooting at cool looking enemies with cool looking guns while some kind of metal plays in the background, that is exactly what this game is, and it does a great job at it. But holy shit, is it such a massive far cry from the near perfection that Doom Eternal was, or even Doom 2016. Gameplay wise, again, it's good, but it is so shallow compared to the other Doom games, and not mainly for the reasons that I was expecting. Before Doom the Dark Ages came out, I heard that it was going to be slower, and it definitely does feel slower to some degree, but honestly, the previous Doom games were not good because they were fast. The combat in Doom Eternal, and to some extent, what made the combat from Doom Eternal so good was how well all the weapons played into each other. How you could treat every enemy like a bullet sponge and just shoot at them with the chain gun, but it was infinitely more efficient to see what weak points they have, to see where they are relative to you and other enemies, and then decide quickly what weapons are best to use in that scenario. Doom the Dark Ages doesn't really have that. Of course, there's some weapons that are better to use in some situations, like the super shotgun is better for enemies that have parryable attacks up close. Faster firing weapons are generally better for enemies that don't have parryable attacks, especially at far ranges, but generally you don't need to abide by that. There aren't really any weak points in the normal sense. You can like shoot the arms off some enemies, but my experience, that's like way too inconsistent to really like count it as a mechanic. Doom the Dark Ages has like 11 or so guns, and I've only really felt like I've ever needed to use like 3 of them. It does do something really cool that honestly I would love to see expanded upon in a future Doom game. Unlike Doom Eternal and Doom 2016, where there's only one progression tree for each weapon, Doom the Dark Ages lets you choose different upgrades, which allows you to almost like create builds to some degree for each weapon. Like you're able to turn the combat shotgun into something that just instantly blows up fodder enemies and gives you armor pickups for it. Or you can build the rocket launcher into giving you health when you take self damage after parrying, which is really cool. You aren't really able to do much with it, but it is really cool that it's there in the first place. The shield, of course, is the main focus of Doom the Dark Ages, and I really feel like Doom the Dark Ages gameplay loop is at its peak when you are fighting one large target and you are parrying, shooting without worrying about like 100 other enemies shooting at you. The shield is super fun to use. It is, even if the parrying is a bit easy and isn't like super intelligently designed, I guess, the parrying feels super satisfying. The slow-mo effect that comes after parrying isn't as intrusive as I thought it would be. It's quite unnoticeable. I just kind of wish that the shield was fleshed out. It feels like there could have been more mechanics introduced with it, unlockable upgrades and stuff like that, but it's whatever. This shield is really good. Probably best thing about the combat in this game. Worst thing about the combat in this game has to be the movement. I think Doom Eternal had like almost like perfect movement for the type of game it was trying to be. The dodges felt really good, and even though you didn't start out with directional air movement, which I think is like 100% necessary for a game like Doom, there was an upgrade you could get that would give you directional air movement. There is nothing like that in Doom the Dark Ages. If you jump in a direction, you are locked in place, you're going in that direction, and there's no way to correct yourself midair because there is no dash. Doom the Dark Ages replaced the dash with probably the worst sprint that I've ever had to play with ever in any video game. How it works is you hold down shift and you move faster. There's no nuances to it, nothing. It's just a button that makes you go faster. You also can't sprint backwards, which means if you are fleeing from an enemy and you need to pick up health or ammo that's on the other side of the arena, you're forced to like turn your back to them and just sprint at a wall pretty much, which just feels like total garbage. I have no idea why they went in this direction, especially when the game is so focused on dodging projectiles and parrying. It would have made total sense to have the Doom Eternal dash movement mechanic in Doom the Dark Ages with maybe a perfect dodge system implemented on top of it. There are also hit scan attacks that are only blockable with the shield, and when your shield breaks, you may as well actually just be dead because there's nothing you can do about the hit scan attacks. Having the dash as a movement option to avoid that would have been nice. All of the mech levels or Atlan levels, as well as like the dragon levels, personally, I thought they were fine. They weren't super interesting. They weren't super complex or deep gameplay wise, but at least they're easy and not tedious or annoying in the slightest. Pretty much the gameplay in these levels consists of, if you see something green show up on your monitor, press the spacebar to dodge. If you don't see something green, keep hitting left click to attack. Rinse and repeat for like 5 minutes and then the gameplay segment's over. Totally understandable why this is the most hated part of the game, but I just did not think it was as bad as people said it was, especially compared to some of the other absolutely atrocious decisions made with this game that I felt completely overshadowed how mediocre the dragon and mech fights are in this. There is one part of the game that I am surprised no one mentioned. In Doom Eternal and Doom 2016, there is this iconic weapon, this 4-barreled minigun that splits open and turns into like a mobile turret. That weapon is in Doom Dark Ages as a stationary turret. I don't know why it did this. They turned one of the most iconic weapons from Doom Eternal and Doom 2016 into something that's like functionally a staring contest. You actually just sit there and hold down left click while staring at enemies. I have no idea why they did this instead of just putting in a normal combat arena like the rest of the game. And for the most part, I feel the same way about the combat as I do about the rest of this game. It's good, it's cool, it's playable, but it is so mediocre compared to what id Software has done in like the past, I'd say like 10 or so years. And honestly, playing through Doom the Dark Ages has made me really appreciative of how insanely compact and fulfilling Doom Eternal was with content. Every level in Doom Eternal felt unique in its visual design, in the arenas that, all of the arenas that were in those levels, all of the parkour puzzles and everything felt very unique to each level. It felt like you were constantly coming across like random Easter eggs, random nods to like little bits of lore, and Doom the Dark Ages just doesn't have any of that, which is super surprising because it has almost twice as many levels as Doom Eternal and Doom 2016, and somehow it feels like it just has less going for it and less content, especially story-wise. Honestly, I thought Doom the Dark Ages was gonna be like a super story-focused game with like crazy cutscenes. The cutscenes are very good. It does have a bigger focus on characters, which is what I expected before this game came out, but it just seems really weird that it just feels super weird that Doom the Dark Ages, especially with how long it was compared to Doom Eternal and Doom 2016, fell short in narrative, cutscenes, and everything that I thought Doom the Dark Ages was going to do better because of how much focus was being put onto those parts of the game. I probably sound like an idiot for even mentioning the story in a Doom game. From what I can tell, Doom the Dark Ages was supposed to have a bigger emphasis on narrative, characters, whatever else, and it weirdly falls short in almost all of those categories compared to Doom Eternal and Doom 2016, where in those games all of that stuff took a back seat to the gameplay. I also think the music fell short as well compared to the previous Doom games. It's not bad. It's not bad in the slightest. I think it's good. There's definitely a few tracks that stand out that I'm able to remember, but that Doom the Dark Ages is pretty lackluster music-wise, especially compared to Doom Eternal and Doom 2016. Every level had its own music that was based around the visual design of those levels. The music in Doom Eternal would dynamically change depending on what's happening, and on top of that, it was just really cool sounding music. Something else I also wanted to talk about with Doom the Dark Ages was just something else I wanted to mention was just how user unfriendly the game is. It's $90 Canadian. I don't know what that is in American, like $10 probably. And one of the requirements to play the game at all is ray tracing. I don't know why they did this. I don't know if this is some kind of conspiracy to force people who are still on the Xbox One to buy an Xbox Series X. That doesn't really make much sense though, because like they could just not release it on the Xbox One. But it's just really weird how Doom has gone from a franchise that can run on nothing to requiring a $1,000 graphics card to even open it. Last thing I wanted to mention was that this game has no multiplayer. Clearly, this is not a big deal in the slightest to anyone but me, because I've heard like no one talk about this. So I'm clearly in the very small minority when I say this, but like I've always thought that Doom multiplayer was good. I personally had a lot of fun with Doom 2016's multiplayer. It did feel pretty weird having like preset loadouts in a old school style arena shooter. Regardless though, it was a lot of fun. Doom Eternal's battle mode I had a lot of fun with as well. I really think why that failed was because it tried to be like super competitive. I really think the best way to do a Doom multiplayer is just have like the basic like Quake or Unreal Tournament style free-for-all with weapon pickups, and then maybe instead of health pickups and armor pickups, there's fodder demons around the map like imps and zombies to chainsaw and glory kill for health. But clearly the Doom multiplayer scene is not big enough to even like worry about it. id Software has said that the reason why Doom the Dark Ages doesn't have a multiplayer so that they could put more focus on the main part of the game, which is 100% understandable. And I think even as someone who fully enjoyed the previous Doom games multiplayers, removing the multiplayer to put more focus on the actual Doom game, which is what people are buying the Doom game for, I still think that that's a good idea, because that's clearly like what matters most. Also, because there's no multiplayer, having skins in the game, which Doom the Dark Ages does have, just feels absolutely pointless. It made sense in Doom Eternal because the skins were made for the multiplayer pretty much. In Doom the Dark Ages, you'll see the Doomslayer from a third-person view like a total of 3 times. It does, like, I don't know why they bothered with it. Anyways, though, I think that's pretty much everything I have to say on this. I just really personally wanted to make a video about Doom the Dark Ages. Liking's free, subscribing's free, and bye.